So, uh, so now let's see these functions, array functions. We may use these ones for each filter and every. Okay, let me show them how we work with them. Okay, let's go here. So we'll have this one, and so we have an array. For example, we want to do something with these array values. So to this function we can use for each. Also, again, this can be called as an array of for each item console log. For example, we will display all of them. So this function. So some of you may know, or actually most of you must know this function from Java, where it was you write x for each function item console log item, and this will display item each time. Okay, and let's see what is in console. So it displays all of these items. For example, we can do like square of these numbers. So this shows it. Okay, this is how we use this function. And we can also simplify it. For example, I can so you can simplify it to this point, and this is anonymous function with removed some things like function, etc. It's arrow function. You do not you can you don't have to write this function as this. You can use as before by using for, but this method is like takes less place and it is more understandable. So it is less error making, because when you are making for and etc., there may be some problems. So this is like syntactic. It's called syntactic sugar. It makes writing the code much easier and you write less code. Okay, filter. Also we have filter. Okay, let's console log x filter. Filter means it will filter some items, like let's say item, and you should remove some true or false value. So something like this. This will only remove all items that doesn't satisfy to this condition. So now it's only 3 elements, 4, 2, 0. And every means that it checks if every element is something. So for example, we can do it like this. We can say, okay, show us if every element is greater than 0. Every, so you again write item arrow function, and for example, item is greater than 0. False, because one item is not greater than 0, but if you put here A7, for example, this will show true. So this is, again, these functions are not, you do not have to learn them, for example. But if you learn them, it will be much easier to write, not easier, but sometimes also easier, and also more readable. So you write less code. So at some time you will learn that, okay, have item 0, it means that it will filter them, and you can understand what's going on, and it will take only one line of code instead of, like, for example, if you use if you use filter, you have about 3-4 lines to do this one, but you have only one line, and it works. It is doing some simple thing, and you do not have to, like, imagine how it works. So this is again called syntactic sugar. It's not, like, required to use it as like this, but it is better to use it like this. Also, we can see all array functions. Yeah, okay, this is all the array functions. There are many different. So let me remove. So now let me show some thing which is called promises, and after that we'll get to fetch. So what are the promises? Okay, let me open a CodePen. Okay, so we have very simple code. It has tag which is called video. In video tag you can run any video, and also so what is in JavaScript? Let's see. It has this object video, document query selector video. It takes this video, this object. Then navigator. Then this is our functions. Then you call this function get user media navigator. Navigator is some object like you know about document. So beside document there are objects which is called navigator. And what they do, they get user media video through. It means that it will take camera. And after that we have two functions, on camera open and on error. So this is the function as a variable. So it means that when you call this method, when camera is opened, it will call on camera open function, and when it has an error, it will call error function. So let's see. As you see, there is a block which says CodePen wants to use your camera. So it wants to use my camera, and I press allow. Now it shows me my camera, or its second camera. Now, what is important here, which you must understand? Okay, you can use this code example as in your, if you want to do something like this. But for example, in this case, what we need, we see that when we open this page, it is not immediately opening the camera. So on camera open you see this very simple function, video source object equal to stream. What does it mean? It is you cannot write like this, video navigator get user media, and then you can something like this. So something like it would be a problem. Why? Because video source object, if this is available console, okay, so I open the console, I remove this one, so now it refreshes. 14th stream is not defined, okay, so it also sends. So actually the problem is that it is not sequential. Like in Java, you remember the first line works, and after it finishes, you can call it second line. When you finish the second line, you can call third line. And there is a problem with this approach in these type of things. So this is on camera open. It says that when camera is open, because it's not done immediately, because it waits me for to press the button allow or block. So it should wait for some event. So this is called reactive programming or event programming. So it is on events. There should be some events, so this something will work. So this is okay. So it was a bit longer than I expected. So this is the like the classic variant of writing the code. So you use navigator get user media and send some link to this method. So when it says that when you open the camera, call this function video source object stream. When it is an error, call this function. Now how it is done? By promise. Okay, again I've opened CodePen. I don't know how to stop it. Okay, so it already has received the permission. Now it is already same, almost same, but it has some differences. Now it says media devices get user media, but instead of this one where you had on camera open as an attribute to function, so this is the argument to function on camera open and order. Here you have the function then. So this is actually a it's called promise. What does it mean? It means that get user media, it already knows that get user media is not opened immediately. It will wait for some things. For example, if your camera is not ready, or I didn't press the button allow or block, after it makes something happen, it will call function on camera app open, and on error it will show on error method. So okay, let's go again. So this is called promise. Promise is that using this method then. So it means that then it will be then is used for promises. Okay, and then let's go further. Hypothetical fetch API. Now let's go to fetch API. Okay, open, close this. Now let's go to this function. I remove this one and I show fetch. Method fetch. What does method fetch do? It is about so before it was called Ajax. Ajax, if some of you have heard about, maybe some of you heard about it, but actually Ajax is something like this. You download the page, and then by JavaScript you want to take another page. If I find an example, okay. Let me download. So okay, so actually it is like for example we have Gmail or anything. So any page, when I use Gmail, actually it loads this page. It doesn't load all news. It only loads this file. It only loads some page, but these mails, they are loaded later. So for example, if I press these buttons like this one, it will download this page content without reloading this page. This is called Ajax. So before Gmail is the first successful version of this technology. Before mails was something like this. You open the Mail.ru, for example, it shows you some links. You press the link and page is reloaded again. So it reloads all of these things. But Ajax, it is when you press this button, it loads only this mail and redraws this page. And this is very good from the point of view of user experience. So user do not need to wait to all page be reloaded, because before what it was, if you want to see some mail, you'll click the link and it will reload all the page, all of this stuff. But with Ajax, you only reload the part which you want. So let me show an example. Fetch. Okay, let me write here. So we can actually fetch. So what I'm doing, I'm here, I'm creating some mockup. It is like mockup means balvanka. So I will create some page which will show me some text, and I will use it. So what does it says? Status 200 OK. This is the OK status that is received. Text plain. HTTP header, HTTP response body. So let's write here Salem Alem. Okay. So this is the some URL which you can also see. You write the code and you will receive Salem Alem. What does it mean? So and I want to take by using this fetch. To receive some data. So from page, let's do something like this. I create here button load, and here I write something like this. Document can actually write it const because it will not change, and after that I write button add event listener on click FN. So I'm doing something like this. When you press on click FN, you load this. This will call this object from web. Okay. Let me open it. At event listener of null. What is an error? Document query selector button. Okay, button is okay. Okay. Sorry. So this is at event listener. This will be click, and on click FN. Yeah, but it actually doesn't know the button. Sorry, but okay, I didn't save this part. I press load. It doesn't do anything. As we don't see anything, but it actually uses this one. So let's see this tab. So we have elements in Google Console, in Google what's called inspect. You write inspect, and this is first element. Element will show what are the HTML elements on the page, what are they, and what is their CSS, and etc. Next one is console, where you see console data. Sources is the files which are loaded and how they are loaded, etc. Next one is also important. It's called network. Network contains different things, like it downloaded script.js, it downloaded content CSS. It's like okay. Some of these are from my these extensions. So for example, this one is downloaded by Loom, etc. So now what we have, and we have this one. You see, this is something something we have seen before. This is the Moki.io. So this is Moki.io. This is our CSS. And when you press load, it loads when you are on page. Okay, I can press again, load, and it again loads. We can press this one, and it will show the headers. Headers means that it is some extra information about this response. So again, you can see this one, 200 OK. 200 OK means that it is OK. This document works properly. Preview, it shows the result in some beautified view, and response, this is raw view, and initiator, who initiated it, by clicking which buttons, etc. Timing, how much time it take, what takes it to download it, and etc. So actually you see that what we have written here, this manage my box. Okay, so this is my okay, we cannot change it, but we know what does it do. So what was written there, it loaded. So for example, now how to work with fetch. We'll go to before point and we use it. So it says that using fetch we should use with this method, the success function for fetch get response parameter. And it says that we can use this one then. Let's do something like this, or we can also write const URL. URL is the address of this page. We use promise. Promise, again, this is some technique or some syntax of JavaScript that allows you to use event-driven programming. Event-driven means it will wait for some event and then will call then. So it is like you fetch and then do something like this. Let's write it on success. On success, okay, what is this? On success response, and here we write console log response. I press load, it loaded the element, and then it shows here some response. Response is some object, it has body. Okay, with a body used false, headers, there are some headers. So it is like information about what has been received, and for example status 200. If you know, there is also many statuses, but most important, most known is 404, 404, which means that file not found. And there are you are not authorized, for example, 403 and 500 server error, so you should know them. And this is URL. And okay, let's open it. So this is status codes. Again, you see them. So there are many status codes. Some of them you will not see never ever, maybe. But mostly it will be 200. The most important you should know that 400 maybe. 401 unauthorized, but again I don't think. But it's the most important. 403 and 404. And there can be other methods. So also 500. 500 means that there are some errors on the server, so it doesn't work. Okay, let's go further. So also you can do this one on error. Function on error. So what does it mean? If it has some errors, it will show you that this contains it has error. So mostly what can be an error, for example, if you write the incorrect URL, like let's add here X, so there is no such URL. I press lot, okay. So it makes error here, and in 7th line, so you can like catch error and do something with it. You can, for example, you can show some warning message. I couldn't data couldn't be accessed. Please do something like this. For example, if your server is unavailable, you can write some message so it will be understandable what is going on. So this is kind of very important. Okay, so now what we have else, so this is very simple example. Let me show an example with real case. Okay, we have this method console rock response shows some not understandable things, but you want to see Salem Alem, which was in the beginning. So if I write console log response text, so asynchronous read response. So the problem is that it is so actually the problem is that response text is also promise, and you should also, it is not done immediately, so because of this you should do something like this. You write response text and write then. As you remember, then means that when it will be loaded, it will call other function on process text. And here we'll open the function, create new function on process text. And also text, and let's write here console log text. Okay, so let's write what we are doing. Response text. We first made the button, and we made the listener click a fan. When you press the click a fan, it it calls this function URL. Function is promise, and you should use then. So when fetch is ended, it will call the onSuccess function or onError function. So if there is an error, it will call onError function, but if there is no error, it will call onSuccess function. What else we do? OnSuccess, it has some response, but this response is not like it doesn't show you immediately text which it has received, and we want to see this text. To see the text, we call the function text, which is after that. It is also promise. You use function then. It means that when you process the text, so you receive some not understandable text, and you want to take this text from it, and you take this then method, and it will you specify that onProcessed text will be called when text is processed, and after that you will have text, and you can console log text, and in the end we will receive this. I press this button, load. It shows Salem Alem, so you can use it something like this. Chaining promises. Chaining promises means that it is something like this. So actually it is like this. Then we call onSuccess. After onSuccess, we said that it to change it we need text method, which is also promise. So we can do something like this. We can actually return response text, and it will return promise to this part, and you can do it like this. Then on process text, and what we see, what we will get on process text means that it will so this is called chaining. So if you don't know the word chain, it's about SEP. You make chain of promises. What does mean? It means that when you do one thing, it will wait to finish it, and when you wait finishing, you can start other thing based on the previous thing. So actually you can do many these steps. Like first you download the, for example, football teams, then you download football players, you download some other things, and then you can combine them and work on them. So this is called asynchronous programming. Asynchronous means that it is not synchronous means that it waits for each like in Java, you write the one code and second code will not start before first is finished. If you in Java pass or learned threads, you should understand what I'm talking about. So for example, if I write something like this, console log hello world, so let's remember, so we have I remove this console log response, and what will be displayed before, Salem Alem or hello world? Let's try it. I press the load. It shows hello world before Salem Alem. Why? Because fetch URL, but fetch URL is written before hello world, but hello world is written before Salem Alem. What's going on? So actually this is, it is called, but after that we say that write hello world. So actually this is not executed, it is only started the work, but it's after it started, it goes to second line hello world, and it immediately runs it because it's already done, but this one waits for the page for this URL to be working and to respond to your request. And okay, before JSON, but there is a problem. If I create some text file here, I open the new file and write here Salem Alem, and write okay, Salem Alem txt. What should be URL? What should be this URL? How can I write it? So let's try how we open it in browser. In browser, okay, what is the word it was? So if I try to with Chrome, what does it say? Okay, actually this is not URL and you cannot fetch it. And problem, let me show it. You can write file. So if you write file, it will open it in browser, but it will not. It will show an error. Notice what's also called. It says that local files, when you load a web page in the browser that is saved on our computer, it's saved via file protocol. So some files that are on your computer, you open it with file protocol. Browsers, web pages are opened with HTTP protocol. But some elements on your computer, they are opened by this file protocol. We are not allowed to load files in JavaScript from the file protocol. So this is more important point. Do not try to open by fetch from your local protocols. You can serve over HTTP. What does it mean? You write this simple code Python -m simple HTTP server from the folder which you're looking, and it will open localhost 8000, and you can access it by using this address. I will show it later. So again, also for example, in my case, if some of you may notice, I used this Visual Studio. So in Visual Studio there is a button Go Live. Let me Go Live. When I press Go Live, it opens this thing. Now we have this Salem Alem actually has some HTTP address. So this is 127.0.0.1.55.55.0.0. It is HTTP address. So you can actually write here something like this, Salem Alem txt. So now this will work. And you should also run this file fetch HTML from this part. I press load and it loads this item. Salem Alem, it shows the Salem Alem. Okay, and let me explain one more thing. It is called JSON, JavaScript Object Notation. So before I showed you some example where we work with some plain text, and let me open again Mocky.io, new mock. Okay, we understand about these statuses. I explained to you. Char set UTF-8. Okay, you should use UTF-8, and by default it says application JSON. But here it says text plain. I choose text plain. What does it mean? Plain, it is not. It doesn't store in any format. There are different formats, but most of them, for example, you see that it by default uses JSON. What is JSON? Also, there is a format which is called XML. Sometimes you may see that, or some very old like resources may use XML. stands for JavaScript object notation. Defines a way of serializing JavaScript objects. To serialize, to turn an object into a string that can be deserialized. So it is serialization. In Java, you may have learned serialization. If you have not learned, let me explain. So it is like you have some objects, arrays, variables in language, in programming. And sometimes you want to store these objects into some file or to send to some other program. So this is called serialization. Serialization means you change object into string that can be sent again to some other computer or to some other people or something like this. And deserialize means that you take some serialized object and convert it to object. So this is method stringify JSON parse. Okay, you can try this yourself, but let me explain. So this is some object in JavaScript. It's like hash map in Java. Serialized beer, JSON stringify. You take this part and call this stringify method. It makes this beer string. It will be string, like clear string. You can open CodePen from the link. I will send the slides. And JSON parse. JSON parse, it is you get. So this is not object. It has quotes before it. So now it is considered as a string. And when you parse it, it makes it beer. Why JSON? So this is like some format of storing some information. You can store information in text format, like you write all of them, or you can store it in CSV format. CSV format is like files, not files, but attributes divided by comma. So, for example, you want to store students of your class, and you will store them name, comma, or something like this. JSON is standard format for things. Useful format for storing data that we can load into JavaScript API via fetch. So this is some example. In this case, it is same as JavaScript's object notation. So as we learned before, it has some keyword. For example, this is object. It has keyword and it has object. Again, so this is all object and this keyword and objects inside it. So values. These values can be also arrays. Key cannot be array, but key can be number, string, or something else. Fetch API and JSON, and so here let me create here one more file. So Salem Alem JSON. Salem Alem JSON. I create some here JSON file. Let's say we are going to store our students. So we have students and all of them have name. So we have two students. This is array of objects, and each object has name, bill, surname, guess, and etc. So now I want to do what? I want, by using this script JS, I want to load it, and okay, let's write it. This will be Salem Alem, not txt but JSON. And here instead of text I will write JSON. And see what does it do. So text, it was considering it text, but now it is considered as JSON. Okay, so now it shows not text but some object. Two objects with name Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos. So that's all for today.